of players who could really ascend quickly for the Cubs. And let me talk about, excuse me, just losing my voice for a minute. But in talking about the Cubs with Nico Horner, 22 years old. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. Okay, he altered his swing. Came out of Stanford, and he was very cocky with his swing, but he changed it. He did some work on his swing. This kid, he made a very big impression in the Arizona Fall League. Okay, injuries. Many scouts are curious as to exactly what they see, because Horner's been injured so much throughout his brief career. He's not quite a major league shortstop, but he can handle second base easily. We'll see what happens. So offensively, Horner's not a guy who's going to give you plus power or plus speed. He is a contact. He's a contact-driven line drive hitter. Okay. If you remember Jose Vidro, okay, the comp is Jose Vidro. All right, so there you go. Those are some of the things to watch out for the Cubs. And now let's go around the horn to see what's going on with the Cubbies. And, of course, an orphan for I was listening to a podcast yesterday. Won't mention any names. But they did a nice job, not knocking them. But they forgot they're going to first base, and they forgot about Anthony Rizzo. Not that they forgot about him, but they forgot about him momentarily. So Rizzo's the kind of guy that you can't forget. You can't forget him. Don't look. It's not about the stolen bases. It's about Anthony Rizzo. And he's solid. A lot of people will be afraid to take any Cub players this year because they fear that Chicago's really not trying to win. And we'll see about that. I'll give Rizzo a 285 batting average. I'll give him 25 home runs. I'll give him the 95 to 100 RBIs. And I'll give him, marginal stolen bases. Not the thing. Okay? Nothing sexy about Rizzo since he stopped running. He's very, very consistent. Now, when you think of that, he hit 27 home runs with the juice ball. That wasn't very great. So you could be disappointed this year in home runs. He did have a strikeout rate of less than 15%. His walk rate put his on-base percentage was terrific last year. On-base percentage was great. Was really good last year. It was about it was over 400, if I'm not mistaken. That's because of the walks. So he's a safe play. Only 3 players have driven in more runs than Anthony Rizzo over the last 5 years. Arenado, Encarnacion, and Nelson Cruz. Only 3 players have driven in more runs than Anthony Rizzo in the last 5 years. Okay? So, and he's gotten every year he gets 600 plate appearances. Over at second base, we talked about, and hello to Lamont Carlisle, if you're listening. Okay, come into the chat room someday. I promised Lamont I would say hello. Good long-time listener and the whole thing. So at second base, we talked about Nico Horner. I'm telling you, this guy is a pure hitter. Somebody you got to watch out for. Javier Baez, and don't forget they got Hernan Perez this year. Hernan Perez at second base, backing up Nico Horner. Hernan Perez will probably start the year, but you can't invest too much in Hernan Perez because Nico Horner is going to get the spot. Javier Baez, his stock has risen in the last couple of years, and I'm thinking for Baez this year, give you the 280. He had a thumb injury last year. He signed a one-year deal, 25 to 30, 15 stolen bases, 280 batting average. He's an all-star, no question about it. Second-round pick, in my opinion, in fantasy baseball. Second-round pick. All right, struck out a little bit more last year. His strikeout percentage was the 8th worst among qualified hitters. But look, he can hit to a decent average. He's never hit below 273 in any full season. Okay? But look, we'll see what happens with him. The problem with Baez is that he was 11 for 18 in stolen base attempts. Prior to that, he was 21 for 30. So 11 for 18 in stolen base percentage in stolen base attempts. That scares me. But I'm still going to say between 10 and 15 home runs on Baez. But age 27 could be a problem. What do we do with Chris Bryant? Well, first of all, I think all this bull-dinking and poppycock about how many years he has, I'm not worried about Chris Bryant. Let's put it that way. I am not worried about Chris Bryant. To me, Chris Bryant is a star player, and I will take him in round 3 if he drops to me in round 3. He'll hit you 285. He'll give you 30 homers. He'll drive you in 85 to 90. Wow, 90 runs. I lost my headset. But he's become a victim of his own potential. We expect so much from him. He's not the first rounder that we thought, but he's as solid as can get. Okay? Last season he rebounded. He was terrible in 2018. He had that shoulder issue, but in 2019 he avoided the DL, IL, OL. He did sit out a week with an ankle sprain. Okay? So, look, we'll see what happens. Will David Ross continue to bat Bryant second? His 385 on-base percentage is solid. Third base, isn't as deep as usual. So getting Bryant at early is advisable, in my opinion. If he's there in round 3, I'm jumping on Chris Bryant at 28 years old. In the outfield, now Kyle Schwarber, a lot of us are wondering why Schwarber is still there. Kyle Schwarber. I thought when they had the opportunity to get keep Castellanos, just the fact that they traded Castellanos gave me a little thought that Schwarber would be traded as well, because they want to shore up their defense a little bit. But I'm telling you, Kyle Schwarber, I'm giving Kyle Schwarber a 35 home runs. How's that? I got to think of it. 35? Yeah, 35 home runs. 250 batting average. Okay? 85 to 90 RBIs. But opposite field, a lot of opposite field home runs, which makes me think that, he hit 38 homers last year. I mean, he could even hit as low as 30. He's not going to hit those opposite field home runs if the ball is not juiced. Okay? He led everybody. He had 15 home runs to the opposite field last year. So that's a little bit of a concern. Andrew and I talk all the time. What are we going to do about the juice ball and about the stealing of the signs with players that don't have that anymore? Interesting. Schwarber could be very much hurt. Jason Haywood, talked about Souza, and I'm just going to talk about Haywood and Happ as the other two outfielders. Souza's going to work his way in. Souza, let me tell you, Souza's not a bad pick. Okay? Haywood, very simply, we know who he is. We know what to expect. His numbers won't be much different than they usually are. 260, 15 to 20 home runs, and 5 stolen bases. And Ian Happ. Now, here's a guy that Andrea knows. I really like him a lot. Ian Happ has the potential to hit about 260. 20 home runs and 10 stolen bases. Now, last year he hit 11 home runs and 2 steals. 25 years old. Remember, in 2018, he led off on the first pitch, hit a home run. So, but last year he opened up with AAA, and he stayed there until the end of July. They wanted him to work on contact. All right. So at the time of his call up, he was hitting 280, 242, but he played a lot after he was called up. He hit 264. He reduced his strikeout rate, a little dip in exit velocity with an increase in launch angle. That got him a little bit more power. But his BABIP was 286. Ian Happ could be a breakout player. 260, 20-plus home runs, 10-plus stolen bases. A fantasy breakout, Ian Happ. If he's undervalued in your league, I think you want him, okay? There you go. That's what I'm thinking. Ian Happ blows. It's okay. You can take that from the lovely and talented Brooks Santinello. Brooks, I don't care what you say, man. Right now, the market is at 131 in the futures. All right, opening soon. All right, next. I'm multitasking here because of Brooks. The next, so we got the outfielders for the Cubs. The catcher Contreras. If he stays on this team, and I'll tell you why he may not stay on this team. There's a possibility. He could be the guy to go. He's going to hit you about 260 with 23, 24 home runs, that kind of thing. He was an above-average offensive catcher for the third time in 4 years. He's only had one down season, okay? So, no question. He's excellent against left-handed pitching, that's for sure. But, look, his expected stats, despite the fact that he had a 42% hard hit rate, his best in 4 years. So some people think he may regress. He's 27 years old. I don't think so. Let's talk about the pitching staff. John Lester, Hendricks, Darvish, Quintana, and Chatwood. I'm not even going to talk about Craig Kimbrell because nobody can. But let's talk about Lester. He is a forgotten man, and I think in our mock draft that I participated in, I don't even think Lester was drafted in our mock draft, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm predicting for Lester, nothing spectacular. We have seen the best of Lester in his career, but he still could be useful, may be traded to a contending team. Lester, in my opinion, is going to give you a 4.5 ERA, a 1.4 WHIP, 160 strikeouts. He had in the middle of the May, he had a 1.1 ERA and a 1.1 WHIP. All right, so and then he went. He had a 90% left on base rate. He was pretty lucky. He had a very modest 8% swinging strike rate. But I think Lester is, as a number 5 pitcher, I would still prefer Lester than a crappy American League pitcher. Let's put it that way. As far as Hendricks is concerned, yeah, a lot of guys really like him. Really like him a lot. Pretty consistent. You know what you're going to get with him, a 1.1 WHIP, a 3.5 ERA, about 150 strikeouts. He's durable. He's reliable. He's consistent. He's had at least 30 starts, had at least 170-something innings in 4 of the last 5 years. He'll be 31 this coming season, and there you go. So nothing great about Hendricks, but he's a very good number 5 pitcher. His velocity and pitch mix were the same as they've always been. Hasn't changed anything. Nothing's going to change. 3.4, 3.5 ERA, 1.1 WHIP, 150 strikeouts. Pretty simple for John Lester. You want to talk about Chatwood? He's such a risk to take. Let's talk about Darvish and Quintana, and then we'll hit Chatwood at the end. As far as Darvish is concerned, we still think he's going to be an elite pitcher, and we're going to probably be wrong. 3.6 ERA, a 1 WHIP, and a 2. He's not an elite pitcher, but he may have had the best 6-8 season and 5 ERA in the history of baseball. All right, unbelievable. His first 7 starts last year, he had a 5.7 ERA and a 1.7 WHIP. Unbelievable.